their FOC on that. So very successful story there. We continue to deliver multi-year 3. We just delivered the first of the multi-year 3 contract airplanes as we go through. That is through FY13 procurements to FY15 deliveries. And then we have 13 aircraft additional in the FY14 budget outside the multi-year. So that's the program that continues to go forward on there. You've all read, some of you have written about our environmental efforts, the Green Hornet. Lots of effort there. We did the biofuel demo. We have that. We continue to provide options of leadership, right, and take the baby steps and develop the building blocks for moving the force to a more environmentally sound force. So whether that's biofuel and then wait for the infrastructure of the Navy to be able to support that, whether that's sound reductions, whether that's certain in-house manufacturing techniques that we can do that's better for the environment, potentially cheaper, et cetera. All those efforts are kind of ongoing, and we've been rewarded for that attention. Okay. Last part on patting ourselves on the back a little bit, but this is the airplane's in a unique situation. Certainly we've saved lots of money over 3 multi-years, over 14 years worth of multi-year procurement timeline, as multi-years should do for you. But we're in a unique time that we talk to folks. Although Super Hornet's been around for a while, like I explained, the bells and whistles and the ACE and the IDECM and the towed decoys and all those things that come about in their advanced forms here towards the relatively recently. First Block 2 Super Hornet deployed in 2008. A pretty darn new airplane when you look at it from that perspective. So a lot of very recent technology, a lot of the latest and greatest type stuff. But we're a mature program. We know how to build the airplane. We have all that stuff down. So as far as the learning curve goes down, we find ourselves, certainly very mature on the learning curve. So that delta that you have between cost and risk that you drive down over the time of a program and learning all those lessons and doing all those cost reduction initiatives and refining all those processes and qualifying all those suppliers and the secondary suppliers and stuff, and all those challenges that come with producing an airplane, we find ourselves pretty far along on that, while we find ourselves at fielding some of the latest capability out there with the Block 2, and then we continue to develop it. So that delta there is pretty significant for an airplane, and that's the unique time in this life cycle of this airplane, I think. I think that's a big part of that. So just a couple of slides on the Growler for you, and then we'll start looking to take some questions. You guys know the story here. The point here is that, again, the successes that we've had in the Hornet program and that Hornet model, that evolutionary approach has found its way into fielding the 3rd variant of the airplane successfully, on time, on schedule, on cost, all that good stuff. 7 years from contract to combat, okay? Again, incremental steps, controlled risk in order to do that. It's been a very good formula for us. We're a little over halfway on the airplane deliveries of the current program record, and I told you that 2016 delivery. We know the power of an AEA platform. We know the Navy probably does that about as good as anybody on that with this community that we've had for so long, and the power of working across all the bandwidths out there in the electromagnetic spectrum, or in the RF spectrum there. So we can go into further as you see fit. Next slide. And then a couple things. Obviously, a very high demand weapon system. You all know that. A couple of interesting tidbits, if you will. Last year, there was a month last year where we had 3 of the operational squadrons transition. We had 5 today. We had 3 last year at this one point, and for a month we had all 3 of those deployed. The first squadron that we transitioned was an expeditionary squadron that went forward. We'll talk a little bit more about that in a second. The second squadron was a boat squadron, the first one to cruise, and it had just gone out in deployment on the USS George H.W. Bush. And then the third squadron was the second expeditionary squadron, and it went forward to deploy as well. So before the first one came back, this 1 month period, we had 3 3 squadrons of Growlers out there, and all 3 were actively on deployment. So that's a testament to the demand of that airplane and the maturity of it in order to be able to do that, in order to have the logistic support in order to deploy all 3 squadrons at that early in the airplane's life is a testament to the maturity of the airplane. It's a testament to the footprint of the airplane and the supportability of it. So the other unique story that some of you may or may not have heard of is that first squadron that went out. It deployed expeditionary out to Iraq. And then the Libya thing got cooking. And so they got the call in order to, we need this squadron there to support the Libya operations that were about to commence. They got the call less than 48 hours before they were on station for the first night of the Libya effort. So they got the call. They had 1 tanker. They packed up the tanker with the maintenance and the parts that they could put in that tanker. They put the go crew on the tanker in order to do the mission planning en route. They had other pilots and the air crew fly the airplanes there. They went en route to Aviano, strike plane the whole way there. Got there. The guys inside the tanker went to sleep. They were the go crew. The other guys finished up the planning. Maintainers turned the airplanes. Those guys got up, flew all the way down to Libya from Aviano, and were on station to support the first night of the war within 48 hours to get the call. So pretty amazing, impressive story actually. One, just from the personnel standpoint, in order to pull that off, just a wonderful thing. And then obviously for the airplane to be able to pull that, to do that. And then they had to sustain that airplane for at least a week, if not more. I can't remember the exact timeline there, before they got additional, because obviously we were moving lots of things around the world at that time. They sustained for over a week with just what they packed into that one airplane in those airplanes. So pretty amazing, pretty interesting story on that. Okay. Foreign military sales and campaigns, obviously always a benefit for us. We have benefited greatly from our 7 international partners we had on the A through D airplane that we continue to benefit from on that. We would like to cast as wide of a net as we can to have international and capability partners going forward on Super Hornet for those same synergies through the life of that airplane and the development on there. And we know we have Australia there as an international partner. Ongoing campaign in Brazil, as you know, sir, there. Malaysia, we know about, are certainly interested. Several countries in the Middle East, I won't divulge them because that's for them to divulge, but you can guess. Ongoing, so we'll see where that pans out, but certainly one that we're interested in. It's again, for that capability partner is quite significant as we go forward. So last slide on there, you know the strengths of the airplane. Multi-role is a true multi-role. That's been the legacy of the Hornet, if you will, but it's because of the way the Navy fights and because of we've got to bring what we have to the fight and be able to mass power towards that. It is probably the lowest risk, lowest cost, and most capability bargain out there today, at least I would say, on that. Demonstrated lowest life cycle cost. We know how to maintain the airplane on that. And then, we continue to advance the airplane. So, generational discussions are typically marketing ploys. I mean, I've never seen an official definition of a generation. We all generally know what it is. But I will tell you, with software-intensive systems and airplanes that we have today, that loses some of its significance because we continue to advance the capability of this airplane a lot through software and through the hardware that's there, or some hardware upgrades as well. So very vibrant story on what we've done on the flight plan for advancing this airplane. I think, and maybe I'm a little myopic here, but I think at least within the world of naval aviation, F-18 is kind of the standard bearer of that flight plan type of methodology that a couple of my predecessors before really kind of put into work as Super Hornet was being fielded and all these bells and whistles were coming to fruition, and we understood what the power of these things were. And so we spent a lot of time taking a look at the threats out there in the world, the gap analysis, not only just with what F-18 can't do, but across the kill chain, across the force there, determining what we need to continue to advance in order to face the threat, aligning that with kill chains, aligning that with the various capability threats that a strike fighter offers, and then also looking at that from a conventional high-end threat war viewpoint, and also looking at it from a regular war viewpoint. Sometimes they're similar. Sometimes there's unique skill sets for either of those, and then breaking that kind of development up in that 2-year general process of what the software loads are, and leading that with required hardware. So a very detailed effort that's built over years and is a living, breathing document in order to give leadership of the Navy and Marine Corps options on where to advance these airplanes, and to tie it to the things that we need across the force for that. Okay, and with that, I will shut up and answer questions. And go ahead, sir.
I'd like to start out with, does the ESA, in the context